That's right, we are going to go over 3 lessons Björk taught me about music production. Welcome, Slanjovan music producers. How's it going? I hope you're well. My name's David, and this is a channel that blends whiskey drinking with the music making. So, my pleasure to have you here today, and I can't wait to share 3 amazing tips I've learned from Björk. Björk's an amazing genre-pushing artist, always blending ideas, being innovative, and just totally amazing imagination goes into all her productions and music. So I thought it was worth a look at. Her latest album was out in 2022, so a lot of the information I've got in this video is from that. And in the video today, we're going to do it kind of podcast style, mainly chatting about all the things, and hopefully that's the kind of things like you, like intermediate or advanced music producers can take away and use in your own music. So I'm excited for it. Hope you are too. Let's get into it. So an amazing thing I want to share about Björk that she always talks about and talked about in a recent interview was blending influences from like really disparate parts of the globe, from world music or genres. And she said a big influence recently was a duo called Gabber Modus Operandi. 2 Indonesian punks who blend Indonesian kind of folk music with like the kind of hard 90s gabber sound. And it's funny because I was doing research on Justice recently who mentioned gabber as well, so people have been delving that kind of harder, more abrasive side of electronic music, which is quite interesting. She actually said they're taking tradition into the 21st century, which I really respect. They do it like nobody else does. And so I think blending influences is really important, and going outside of your comfort zone to make something original rather than making something just like everyone else is making. So well worth trying to do. Björk even did this on one of her kind of early tracks as well. It was called It's Also Quiet, which you should check out. And she said, I think it's this sort of element of surprise, maybe because it was the last thing you'd expect on that album, but it was also maybe an experiment to embrace all the music in the world, you know, like to be that inclusive, to love music so much that you can have all these different genres and make it cohesive, because what's gluing it together is the love of music. Now that's a quote. I love that. That's a Björk quote. If you're interested in the down below in the comments and all that, I've put all the sources where I've got the information from as well, if you want to dig deeper after you've watched the video. But I think it's an amazing point of being surprising, doing something different, and sometimes that can be mashing different genres together or different styles together, or even a little bit of influence from maybe some world music you've heard and dropping it into like maybe your normal like techno productions or house music or whatever you're making. So I do encourage you guys to go out there and be innovative, be bold. Even if it's a bit outside your comfort zone, you might surprise yourself and end up loving it. And you know, any fans you've got along the way hopefully will love it too, and you might even make yourself some new ones as well. So the next lesson I want to share from Björk is she said about switching identities and the freedom to do that. Because, you know, quite often, like, we're almost told to treat ourselves like a brand, like a product, and be consistent in branding. And, you know, I do think some of that holds value when you're like trying to build up and kind of get a following and stuff. But at the end of the day, we're not here to make a product. We're here to make art, something that communicates with people, gets feeling across. So Björk mentioned that she said, I have the right to one day be silly, the next day be clever, and then humorous and happy and sad and angry and dressed like a clown and dressed like a mother and dressed, you know, sexy if I wanted, and then like techno person the next day. And she says, so it was very much about the statement to you and have access to this diversity, which is important. And I think that is a really important thing to embrace with your music making. Like, there's a whole world out there, so feel free to switch between kind of ideas that as inspiration comes to you. Björk also said, I feel as a singer-songwriter, my role is to express the journey of my body or my soul or whatever. And hopefully I'll do that till I'm 85 or however long I live. I try to keep the antennas up and read where my body is at, which is quite interesting. I've heard other artists like Jack White, the famous guitarist in the White Stripes and writer, has talked about that, and kind of almost like you kind of almost always ready to get that inspiration, always ready to receive inspiration. And I might have mentioned this before in the channel, but I'll mention it again, is I heard someone describe it like, imagine inspiration like an imaginary friend who gives you gifts. And if you accept them kind of quickly and happily, you'll get more gifts. But if you're like, oh, I'm too busy now, I'll check that out later, and then you forget the idea, you get less and less inspirational gifts from your imaginary friend inspiration. So do keep that antenna up and keep kind of try and be in tune with your body, with your soul, as Björk said, and keep trying to interpret those feelings. And then, of course, your musical styles might evolve and change gradually over the years as you are telling the story of your life or what you observe through your music. And even though a lot of electronic music is instrumental, it's still painting a picture, telling a story, and that's what you should try and tap into as a music producer for sure. So if you are struggling with your own music, I do have a little helping thing for you. It's my 10-day, 10-step challenge to finish that damn track. So you don't have to put in more time than you normally would, about 30 minutes a day in music production. I just send you an email every day with a little guide that tells you what to do each day to take music from an 8-bar loop all the way through to being a finished track. So if that sounds good to you, even self-mixed, self-mastered every step of the way, sign up below, and it's free. Send it out to you. I'm just here to help music producers like you finish more of those damn tracks and get your best ideas out there. And sometimes all you need is a little framework and a little motivation every day to keep you going. And if you've included artist quotes in the little guides, and there's a clear objective at the start of each day and then an action point, the thing you have to do each day as well. So you can just check it off when you've done it and be like, okay, wait till tomorrow and do the next thing. And in 10 days, 10 steps, finish track. Hope that'll help you. Let's find out what else Björk has in store for us. So another thing I learned from Björk was using imagery to describe your music. And when we were talking about Gorillaz, Damon Albarn mentioned that. We've got that in the podcast archive somewhere. But she used loads of kind of funny and untypical words actually to do her music and describe it. And I think it's quite, it's nice to finish on this one because Björk is kind of very kind of speaks like this when you hear her in interviews, and it can sometimes be a bit kind of out there. Like I like this one. She said her melodies are like crooked little trees. They're kind of a little bit wild, but also with a lot of space, which I was quite cool. So imagining your melodies or bass lines kind of like a plant. She also said the beats on her 1997 masterpiece are homogenic or volcanic. And I'm sure when Björk was making this music, she had these images in mind. Nick Cave's talked a lot about a lot about using imagery as well in his music. And then also, she said when standing in front of a room on stage, she reflects there's a lot of electricity, a lot of voltage, a lot of voltage, and it's almost like you can imagine her like seeing the current of electricity through people, which is quite cool. And then she said on this most recent album we mentioned, the 2022 one, it was making her mushroom album. It's like digging a hole in the ground. This time around, I'm living with the moles and really grounding myself. And she said, I don't know if that's too far-fetched for you guys, but I have to speak in this sort of music lingo. So fair enough, you might be more like talking about music in a way of key changes, chords, stuff like that. Or maybe you're a bassist like me when you talk about frets, numbers, that kind of thing. But I do think there is a benefit of seeing music with this more kind of vivid, imaginative way that we can all learn a bit from. And I think it's something you could put into your own music, try and paint that picture. And you won't always know from the start. For example, you'll just be playing around in Ableton or on a synth, making a loop or a beat. But, you'll start to get this feeling as you work on it more and try and really tune into that feeling as well. And it might be a kind of bit abstract. You might not know for sure. It's not like, an engineer or a designer with an exact script that they're then going to build from the idea. Sometimes it's a bit more like this kind of misty, nebulous idea that you then have to like kind of figure out as you go along. But definitely try and tune into that imagery and feeling as you make your tracks. Now, like I said, if you're struggling with your tracks, I've got my 10-day, 10-step challenge. Finish that damn track. And like I said, you get a free email every day, and it just gives you a checklist in a PDF format of what to do each day. Go from 8-bar loop to full track, self-mastered and everything. So if that sounds good to you, click below, and it is as easy as that. There's bonus videos I've included and everything in it. So I hope it'll help. My job here is to help you with your music. That's what I'm put on this planet to do, help people be happy, get fulfillment from making their tunes and that. And, you know, I have to say I enjoy researching these videos. It helps me learn more as well along the way. So hope you're all good. Thanks for watching this. Yeah, I've got more on the channel if you want to watch other videos about other famous artists. But maybe you could just close that laptop now or turn off the telly and go open Ableton or whatever instrument you've got and start playing around, making some loops and making some synths, and maybe enjoying some whiskey as well. Right, catch you later. You've been tuned into Whiskey and Synths. Catch you later, guys. Whiskey.